Hi guys, it's Joey. So this video is going to be called Musing about Forgiveness, and it's part of the Healing Witch series, and it's going to be an introspective look at my relationship with the notion of forgiveness and how it has come up and popped up in the course of this healing work that I've been going through. And so I decided to make a musing video, and I decided to actually be on camera for this one because it's been a while since I've been on camera. I haven't actually been on camera in 2015, I don't think. So I was like, okay, we should make an appearance. I've got brand too. Okay, so first, before we get into the video, there are a whole list of videos that I need to do that are coming, I promise. I'm going to do 2 Ogun videos this week, probably today, if not today, tomorrow. I've picked the names already and they're going to be done soon. And the Ogun video readings are my way of giving back to the community and saying thank you. So there's that, and then there's a whole host of other bits and pieces for the healing series, and then moving into the transformation series as we make the shift between healing ourselves up ready for personal transformation. And I've had personal transformation coming in anyway and been working through with certain energies and certain vibrations and images and messages and things of that nature, largely personal. But as we mull along the healing path to make sure we sort of get ready and be as ready as we can be for personal transformation, something cropped up. Now I'm gonna be sipping water, so excuse me. And I have a list of things I want to do in terms of like presentation videos, as in, you know, this is some spell work, this is some this work, this is some this work, and this is something I'm doing, and this you could take a tweak, and ideas and things in terms of healing work that we're going through right now. But something popped up today, and I've been mulling over it a little bit anyway. It's been popping up here, there and everywhere, and this is about my sort of interacting with the notion of forgiveness and things of that nature, and how it's actually preventing me from healing in some ways. It's forming a block. So it's a bit of a personal failing on my part in some ways, that I have been addressing and mulling over and musing over, and I thought, you know, I think I really need to talk about this out loud, for a number of reasons. Because, you know, sometimes we as people on a spiritual path think that we should be just very, I don't know, you see these representations of spiritual people and, you know, oh, it doesn't bother me and nothing gets to me and I'm fine, and oh, you just forgive them no matter what, and I'm a spiritual person so things don't get to me, and you see these things and you think, am I spiritually fucking up along the line here somewhere because I, you know, get angry or upset or whatever. And the more and more I was thinking about it, it's like, no, not really. I mean, to be honest, that seems like a less healthy way of interacting with the world. Like, you're here for a human experience, so of course you're going to feel the human side of things. You're going to feel the negative emotions as well as the positive ones. And I was musing over my own sort of feelings on forgiveness in sort of 2 pathways, like one being within, like self-forgiveness, forgiving yourself for fucking up, forgiving yourself for making that mistake, forgiving yourself for doing the wrong thing, forgiving yourself for not seeing something, for, you know, that sort of thing. And then on the other hand of it was the sort of forgiveness on the outward level, like forgiving other people, and starting to think about where the roots of it are and what it means to you. And I'm basically musing out loud. I normally do the musy videos with a candle in front of me so you can't see me going but you know, it's been a while. I'm alive. I'm still here. So I was thinking about it in terms of my personal failing on the subject of forgiveness, in that I'm was thinking about it, I was like, am I a forgiving person? And for the most part, I don't think I am a very forgiving person at all. So I was thinking about this in terms of my own personal development and releasing things within myself which aren't good for me and aren't good for my relationship with people and aren't good for myself on a spiritual level either. And I was sort of musing into this process and thinking, you know, what things do I think I forgive easily, what things don't even bother me, and what things I find really difficult to deal with, and so on and so forth. And I was thinking about it in terms of relationships with other people, obviously, as well as in terms of self-forgiveness, which I also struggle with because I'm incredibly self-critical. And this is not an easy video at all, talking about how you fail at certain spiritual concepts. And I was thinking about it in terms of my relationship with my sister, because me and my middle sister have been there for each other our entire lives, and we've always got each other's back. And she's someone whom I love without condition, and has always loved me without condition as well. And I was thinking about it in terms of, you know, that me and her have this incredible bond whereby we understand what each other needs in a way that the outside world doesn't seem to. And we obviously understand the upbringing we've had and the fact that we weren't allowed to discuss how we felt honestly, and when we were pissed off we weren't allowed to express that because there would be negative consequences for us doing so. And so the relationship between me and my sister developed to the point whereby we understand that what the other one needs usually now is when something really, really frustrates us or makes us angry, is we get on the phone or whatever and we will vent. And we allow the other one to sort of indulge in that for, you know, half an hour or whatever, and just like getting all the frustration and anger out and just swearing and cussing and whatever, and just getting it out, you know. And then we sit and discuss through it and work through it, and after that point, unless it's something that's recurring, as a recurring problem, we consider that done and you know, dealt with. And I've realised in recent times that I've thought to apply this formula to relationships with other people, and it just doesn't work. I've come to the point where I'm like, right, I have to A, forgive myself for not expanding myself enough to integrate with people on a different level, and B, forgive people for not understanding or not liking the way that my mind works or whatever, or the way that I interact with people, and let go of stuff that is otherwise poisoning me. And I was thinking about it on terms of, I can't remember if it was a video the Four Coins did or if it was a load of blog posts or something, but it was talking about the fact we judge people on a very sort of two-dimensional basis, and that we as individuals get quite upset with other people because we realise that we are multifaceted and deeply layered, and we realise that we have all these experiences and all these feelings, and we're not just two-dimensional, you know, and that yet we still judge people as being two-dimensional, make a value judgment call, and don't allow them to have the well of depth that we know that we do have as people within our own personal selves. And it's sort of a little bit like separating yourself from the world and operating on an ego basis. And I was then thinking about, in terms of forgiveness, in that, well, how much of what requires forgiveness is actually about our own ego, about our own sense of self, sense of self-worth, and our own ego trips, I guess. And, you know, like thinking about I I don't know how to fully express the idea, because it's not selfish to be upset with certain things, and there are certain things which should upset us, and it's perfectly, oh goodness, the light in here, perfectly acceptable to feel those emotions, and it's not something we should, on the other, on the flip side of it, we shouldn't like say that we shouldn't be feeling anger, and we shouldn't be feeling hurt, and we shouldn't be feeling sadness at certain situations and certain behaviours, because obviously we're human and we're going to feel them. But on the other hand, how much of it is this self-centered approach to the person isn't giving me what I need, so I'm offended or whatever? And at what point do we have to really start looking at it in terms of, this is somewhat my failing as well as their failing, and then get to the point where you're forgiving them as well as yourself. And as the Four Queens put it, even if they don't say sorry, even if they don't deserve it. And this is still a path that I'm mulling down. And I was getting to the point where I was realising that the kinds of things that I really don't forgive are the ones that I consider to be invasion, over invasive. And it goes right from the really terrible, horrific stuff, so we're talking abuse style invasion, to stuff like theft, which I find abhorrent, and everything in between, I guess, all the shades of grey, for lack of a better term. The book has ruined that for me, it really has. And I was sat there thinking, how much of this is my own like egotisticalness and how much of it is really holding me back and poisoning me, and at what point do I have to be like, you know what, something in me needs to shift, and at what point is it like, well, this obviously I don't have a healthy relationship with X, Y and Z, so therefore it's just healthier just to create the boundary and not overanalyze your feelings about it too much, to the point where you're giving too much of yourself away, and it becomes this balancing act, this give and take act between how much of it is personal responsibility and how much of it is their personal responsibility, and a sort of symbiotic relationship between the two, whether it be in a positive or negative thing. I realised that I'm really quite bizarre with this as well. Like, once I'm loyal to somebody, I'm really quite forgiving. My oldest friend and I are both difficult people. I think she'll forgive me for saying that. And we've only really had one major bust up in all the time I've known her, and I've known her since we've been friends since I think I was 13 or 14. I'm not going to say how long that is, because we're pretending that I'm ageless. Yeah, right. And we've always forgiven one another for our failings, or letting the other one down or whatever, and some of it hurts on both sides, and we've just gotten over it, really, and we've just come to the point where we accept one another for the quirks and weirdness in which we have. And that's not to say that we don't work on ourselves in terms of personal growth, because we do, but I'm, in that circumstance I'm really quite forgiving, and then in other circumstances where I'm just not, I'm just completely not, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want any more of that in my life. I've had enough of that in my life for 3 lifetimes, and I don't want it ever again. And one really easy example of this is if, for men, if they start behaving in ways that I have seen as precursors to player or abuse type behaviour, that I just cut it straight out. And it's probably not fair of me at all, because it may not be leading down that path. But if I see that sort of behaviour in people, I'm not interested at all. I'm like, thump, and I'm not forgiving of it at all. Like, no. And I was, growing up, I was always really quite strict about what I would forgive and what I wouldn't forgive. And in terms of this, in terms of men anyway, I've been working through forgiving my ex for abandoning me when I needed him most. And it's nothing to do with him whatsoever. He doesn't know about this at all. It became more about me. And I always had trouble with the sentiment that, at some point you have to forgive people, not for them, not for their sake, but for your sake, because otherwise it festers away in you like a little seed, a little poisonous seed, of hatred, and it becomes a problem, and it affects you on an everyday life basis. And you're thinking, at a certain point, you're like, I have to get over the feeling of being betrayed by this person, because it's hurting me and it's not doing anything for me, and it's my responsibility to really take care of myself in that respect. And again, that sort of ties into a self-forgiveness, especially when you're as over-analytical as us Virgos tend to be. People may or may not know this about me, but I tend to blame myself in all situations, whether I show it or not. And some people will be like, no you don't, you think you're better than everyone else, and you blame everyone else but yourself. And that's just, you don't know me at all, because and my sister will probably testify to this, as will people who do know me, is that I sit there and I'm like, I must have done something terrible. I must have, what did I do? What could I have done better? Can I sort it? Can I fix it? Can I make it better? And I have trouble with the whole point of sometimes, no, you can't make it better, and you just have to forgive yourself for making the mistakes along the way, and forgive the other person and just move away from it, just let it go. I don't have a huge problem with the let it go aspect in most circumstances. There are some things that really, really get to me and really, really piss me off, and I have a real trouble getting over it. And this is something that I've been working on recently as well, admittedly. I've been getting better and better with this, and I even had, my partner even commented that you've been getting a lot better with it. That certain things that you just have to get to a point where you just relax and let it go and let it flow past you. You just have to water off a duck's back, and to the point where it doesn't require forgiveness, it just doesn't enter your sphere at all. It doesn't enter into you, into your personal energy system. It doesn't enter into your heart. It doesn't enter into your mind. You just let it flow past you, because it's more about them than it is about you. And when I have some truly hateful comments, or really bigoted stuff, or racist stuff, or at that point, I'm now at the point where I'm like, it's not about me. It's about what's going on with you in your sphere, and I hope you fix it, because it's clearly, with some of the things that I've seen and heard, these things are really clearly having a really terrible effect on the individual. And I'm trying to get to the point where I balance thinking about other people as their range of depth, rather than just getting really, really angry with the situation that you see in front of you and just snapping and just being like, that person's meh, or whatever, or a whole group of people are a load of shit because of this person. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. And applying what you've experienced with one or two people to a whole group of people is really bad. I've seen a lot of pagans do this with Christians, and I don't really agree with that. I've had some pretty horrible experiences with Christians too, not as bad as some people, admittedly, but I've had some judgment, I've had some nasty comments. It doesn't mean that every single person who follows that path is that way inclined, just the same way as, you've had some bad experiences with certain pagans. It doesn't mean all pagan denominations are the same. And it's a really difficult thing. We're getting off track a little bit, but it's basically not applying sort of like the anti-forgiveness onto a whole group of people because of one negative experience. Then again, of course, there is the line between being like a doormat and being a forgiving person. Like, you have to remember that your line of self-respect and personal boundary has to apply as well. And there are people that will use other people and for whatever means, and that's not so much about forgiveness as it is about your own self-worth, I think. Like, at what point is the personal boundary more important? Like, and it becomes this very complicated issue for you to sort of think, you know, where is the line for me? And then you examine where you put the line in terms of your own behaviours, your own ego, your own selfishness, and thinking, right, am I being too selfish? Am I being too unforgiving? Am I being too sort of on a high horse, or you know, or is it not enough? Is it crazy lighting that's driving me mad? It's a really difficult thing, and it's part of the healing process about and figuring out who you are. And I've been sat here like mulling back and forth, like, am I too strict? Am I too like cut off? And is that too harsh? Is that? And is part of it is, yeah, I mean, I am overly harsh sometimes on it, and it's part of not wanting to be a horrible person. And I guess it doesn't matter what you say to some people, they're going to hate you no matter what you do, and you can't live for anybody else's opinion anyway, because you're never going to find happiness that way. But it becomes a sort of inward sort of pull and push against your own feelings about what becomes acceptable levels. You know, what is boundary versus what is forgiveness? What is something that you can forgive versus can't forgive, and what that means and why that is, and does that need examining? There are things that I am pretty sure that I will never forgive. I will never forgive people attacking my family, ever. And trying to be I've had people try and come between me and my sister, who I mentioned earlier, and yeah, good luck with that. Because we're in the process where we can talk about anything, and it's not off limits, it's just honest. And you know, if she'll tell me if I need to re-examine and re-evaluate, or calm the F down, or look at what I'm doing, and I do the same for her. And you know, so over the years we've had a few different people try and wedge their way in between us, and it never freaking works. So I don't forgive that. I don't forgive people who try and manipulate the only family I have. I don't like it. I grew up in the circumstance where it was constantly trying to play one sister against another, trying to damage the relationship there, and I just don't forgive it now, and I don't think that is ever going to change. And I'm okay with that as well. That's probably a boundary line that I think I'm alright with on a personal level. And then there are other things that I'm looking at thinking, you know, I need to be more forgiving in this, I need to improve my own personal growth in this, I need to address this for my own healing, because I've got to just forgive and breathe and let go. And it's a process. That's the other thing I really wanted to sort of talk about. Like, people talk about forgiveness in sense of just forgive them and let go, boom, and like that's it. And I was sat there thinking, you know, it's really not. It's really a process, and it's about, you know, examining how you react to people, your relationships with people, how you feel about X, Y, and Z, what your triggers are, why they're your triggers, if that's acceptable or not, and then moving on past it. So I just thought I really actually needed to talk about this out loud before I could continue down the healing path, because this is something which I've been processing and I kind of need to internalize and then put it out there and then move on from it, which is something I do a lot, and people don't seem to, I don't know, not a lot of people seem to do that, or they just, you know, poof. This is, and even I don't in some circumstances, and that's something I need to work on, just, you know, breathing out and letting certain things leave. Okie dokie. So that's going to be it for this video. It was just me mumbling and rambling and talking and showing my face on camera a bit, but there you go. Many blessings.